So, HR Calabarzon, sa lahat po ng gusto, okay, medyo nag-nosebleed po ako kanina, talaga naman, na-practice na naman ang ating, tinatawanan ako ni Ma'am Joanne at ni Ma'am Sharon. O, di ba po sa ating mga ka-HR dyan, nandito na po tayo sa back-to-back second session of HR e-Knowledge back-to-back learning series for our anniversary. Medyo busy lang po si Sir Darwin, but definitely Sir Darwin will be joining this month to, syempre, kamustahin tayo mga HR Calabarzon dahil syempre ang HR Calabarzon ay isa sa baby ni Sir Darwin as the President and Founder of Philippine HR Group. So again, para po sa kaalaman ng lahat, ang ating HR e-Knowledge ay created for the sole purpose of learning for all HR practitioner and enthusiasts na kasama natin dito sa HR Calabarzon. Ang ating pong HR e-Knowledge ay free. Tayo po ay kumukuha o humihingi ng minimal payment of 100 pesos sa lahat po ng gusto mag-avail ng HR e-Knowledge. Ang ating pong replay ay makikita sa ating Facebook page and of course sa ating YouTube account. So ang lahat po ng gustong makakuha ng HR e-Knowledge e-certificate ay pinapakiusapan naming ilagay po ang inyong first name, middle initial, and last name sa ating Google form na ipopost po ulit natin ang QR code. Please do type correct email address para po hindi nagba-bounce back. Please attach the correct reference number and proof of payment para po hindi tayo natin binabalikan ang inyong mga HR e-certificate request. Ang lahat po ng links o ang QR code will be posted sa ating Facebook group, Facebook page, Facebook live chat, and Zoom chat box. The minimal fee is good for 2 e-certificate. One from Sir Ron Thomas Speak or Talk, and one is for another speaker and mentor this afternoon, Ma'am Tina Khoe. Payment will be until Wednesday next week up to 5 p.m. At ang e-certificate o ang ating form is available until Thursday next week up to 5 p.m. lamang po. Hindi na po kami mag-accommodate ng mga nagre-request ng beyond. Kasi po nag-uumpisa na pong mag-audit ang ating mga auditor. Para po on time nating maipadala ang e-certificate on Tuesday next week. Yan. So why do we have to pay for the minimal fee of 100 pesos? The minimal fee is to sustain our expenses for monthly subscription via Zoom postpaid account. And of course, for our GCash payment, please do screenshot our QR code. Our GCash payment number is 0919-009-6339. Pinagpapawisan ako. For Union Bank payment, please do screenshot our savings account 1098697574404. And Ma'am Jurina, please do the honor of inviting our mga ka-HR Calabarzon to be one of the ano bang pwede natin itawag dito? One of first who will join the Champion Online Certification Program of Asia, HRM Human Resource Business Partnering License.
Yes, of course. We are inviting every single member of HR Calabarzon to join the Human Resources Business Partnering Certification Program sponsored by Asia HRM. Of course, this will obviously boost your business acumen, which Sir Ron Thomas really put an emphasis on, and you will also learn essential skills regarding HR business partnering. You will become a data-driven partner, and of course, you will learn to apply the employee experience techniques to improve interactions between business and HR. So what are you waiting for? Come on and join our Asia HRM Business Partnering certifications. We have our modules from 1 to 6, and of course, it's convenient, it's flexible, and it's affordable. We can't wait to have each of you join us here. And of course, just for our course structure, we have the course duration. It will be for 7 weeks, and it will be an online instruction and interactive session. The language will be used here is English, of course, the international language, and we will have the course period from October 2022 to December 2022. How much is it? Now that you mention it, it's $297. But if you sign up by September 30, you will get $247 for the program. You will get minus $50 off. So, what are you waiting for? Let's join the HR Business Partner Certification Program.
Yes, at syempre, bukod sa lagi nating pinag-uusapan, ma'am, ano nga ba ang future ng HR? And we are now going global. Pero bago tayo maging global, ano nga ba ang future ng Philippine HR? So alamin natin yan, ma'am, Jorina, with Ma'am Tina Khoe.
Of course, it is my honor to introduce our next speaker, which is Miss Tina Khoe. She is a general manager at a retail business with 28 branches all over Metro Manila, and is also a blogger about entrepreneurship and HR at tinainmanila.com. She is also an active co-moderator of three popular Facebook groups that's related to payroll, labor law, and HR, one of which is the Philippine HR Group, which currently has about 276,000 members and counting. Please also do like the page if you want to get the latest updates on anything HR. She is also one of the active co-hosts of the HR Cafe, Usapang Buhay, Trabaho at Iba Pa, a free weekly web-based show that is broadcasted every Sunday at 3 o'clock p.m. via Facebook Live. The show is watched by thousands of Filipinos live and on replay, and is aimed on helping elevate the HR practice in the Philippines. Miss Tina has a business degree in Ateneo de Manila and an MBA in the Hong Kong Science and Technology University. Introducing the practical human resource leader, Ms. Tina Khoe.
Hi, Ma'am Tina.
Hello, good afternoon. Shall we do the presentation?
Yes, ma'am. We are very much excited for your presentation this afternoon, knowing that we have you from the Singapore, from the People Matters. People, ma'am, enjoy na enjoy at talaga namang marami kaming matututunan this afternoon from Ma'am Tina, na talagang fresh from Singapore. Ma'am, please do ay, ako pala pang mag-share. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sabi ko.
Okay. Well, I'd like to first thank everybody and the HR Calabarzon Facebook group for allowing me to be your special guest speaker for today. Nakakatakot kasi back-to-back ako with Sir Ron Thomas, whom this afternoon hopefully answered your question about what the future of global HR should be over the next few years. I hope that you've received the answer that you sought from his presentation. So now, sa akin naman is the more localized perspective on what I think the Philippine HR will look forward to over the next few years. So next slide. Once again, to make sure that you're in the right forum, my name is Tina Khoe, and I'm very happy to be here. Next slide. I do have a blog called tinainmanila.com. So you can follow me again on Facebook. And if you're very pleased with my thoughts and my presentation, please like, follow me either on my blog or on my Facebook page for more details about HR and entrepreneurship. Next slide. So just to share, I'm fresh off my trip sa People Matters Tech HR conference last August in the Marina Bay Sands, Singapore. I've had the pleasure of actually meeting Neddy in person. So really nice. And all other HR practitioners. Kasama ko mga 75 Filipino delegates. Listening to a smorgasbord buffet choice of 90 speakers along with more than 2,000 conference attendees. So just to give you a perspective on the types of topics that we listen to, here were the topics that I listened to last August at the People Matters Tech HR. I want to share it with you because I want you to know what other people are talking about. 'Di ba? Kasi we are working in the Philippine setting, and it's always nice to see how other people in around the world, how other HRs around the world are interested in. Okay? So next slide. So ito yung ano namin, agenda namin. It's 20 minutes per seminar, pero actually very jam-packed siya. So for example, we listened to people talking about borderless talent, the connection and collaboration conundrum. We talked about balancing the scales of purpose and outcome. People were very much worried about how the work future would be. Everybody was talking about how to balance HR and then tech together, what the future of HR will be, and how to care for employees' mental well-being, lalo-lalo na when not everybody is in the same office because of the pandemic. Next slide. Other topics that we talked about were how HR tech could drive company culture and employee experience, data for impact, mental models for 2022 and beyond. And I just want to highlight these topics kasi parang napakaiba kasi siya sa mga topics na pinag-uusapan natin sa Philippine HR group. As you can see, the global trend for HR recruitment is now being global. Dati kasi, hiring virtual assistants and freelancers used to be parang for gig economies lang. Popular siya for apps using Upwork, but there's still a lot of companies who don't take remote employees as seriously as before. However, now the trend seems to be that recruitment is becoming more global. So it's very, very recent, diba? Pero there's a lot more companies who are looking for sourcing their employees overseas, asking them to do remote work, not counting them as freelancers but part of the company's headcount. So now it's very much possible that you may work for example lang ha, an Italian company that's based in Germany, but you're Filipino and your colleagues are all around the world, all having regular work, not contractual. And this type of companies are creating very powerful synergies together. In short, here are my takeaways for the conference. So next slide. All right. First, HRIT and tech have advanced in a way that many things that were impossible before are now possible. So with a very few clicks of the button, remote work has now gained more permanency and respect and is no longer relegated to part-timers but full-timers, all thanks to the COVID-19 pandemic who has sped up the advent of HR technology. A company can now use AI or artificial intelligence to browse through resumes, filter properly, and through data analysis, sift through the best resumes for the HRs to prioritize in their interviews. Onboarding can now be done online even without stepping in front of the office. After onboarding, website and apps can create and give the employees a feeling of camaraderie, even if they're in different locations, cities, countries, and even time zone. So I don't know with you guys, parang sa inyo, how is HR in your company? Because in other countries and other companies, um, HRs is now becoming very much virtual. The threat to us, okay, the threat to us is that given the new technologies available, digitalization and automation will soon make admin-focused HRs obsolete. Okay? So that's somewhat not a very good thing for us, 'di ba? Kasi Philippine HR is still very admin-focused. And regardless of country, companies around the world, second animation, companies around the world are making big moves and spending a lot of money to make employees feel comfortable in staying in their company. Kasi akala natin, who amongst you are in recruitment? Who amongst you recruit or interview or look for people? Right? Meron ba? Raise your hand if you have. If you're in recruitment, di ba hirap na hirap kayo maghanap ng tao ngayon? Pandemya na, pagod pa kayo kasi maraming tao na hindi nagsho-show up, maraming taong hindi, parang medyo malabo here in the Philippines. Well, it's actually the same in other countries. Companies are now spending a lot of time, effort, and money just to recruit people. And there is a push on how companies can make life more comfortable for employees to motivate them to work, lalo na in the new normal. Next. That makes everyone, even overseas. So parang for example, 'di ba, there's the trend nga of quiet quitting, upskilling, and great resignation. Na-popularize yan in China and everywhere in the world. But it's all happening here too, where employees are just working their wages and don't work as much as they used to. That's the reason why a lot of the older companies, 'di ba yung mga dating mga senior managers sa company natin, lagi sinasabi, dati naman sa panahon ko, hindi naman ganyan yung mga tao. Bakit parang ngayon pasaway? And that's really the trend right now is that it's an employees market and everybody is becoming concerned about recruitment and retaining people here in the Philippines and overseas. Okay? Lastly, I'd like to point out that even the most HRs do not know where the industry will be over the next 3 to 5 years. After being told, many are just pivoting as they go along. And actually, dun sa last talk namin with Dave Ulrich at the People Matters conference, the attendees didn't just ask him once, but also twice on where global HRs would be over the next few years. So that means regardless of location, hindi lang pala tayo yung medyo tulala kung saan mapupunta ang ating local HR over the next 3 to 5 years. Even our counterparts overseas do not really know where global HR would be kasi napakabilis po ng mga technology and trends that are being thrown in the industry. So talagang it's if you're still wondering where it will be, it's not just you, it's everybody else. So that's something to be thankful for. Now, next slide. The conference has given me the impression that it's kind of bad news for Philippine HR. And I'd like to tell you why. First, local HR is still very process oriented. So while everybody was talking about the top level topics at the People Matters Tech HR conference, there is a gaping disconnect on what HRs elsewhere are worried about, which are future and trends, and what HRs in the Philippines are looking at. Okay? So while listening to the best and the brightest, I was answering queries sa Philippine HR group natin. Ano yung mga tipong mga tanong na nakikita natin sa HR Calabarzon or the Philippine HR Group? 'Di ba? So may mga tanong, for example, on how much separation pay to give somebody who's resigned. Well, the answer is zero, 'di ba? How much additional pay do we give for holidays if it's a special non-working holiday? Well, the answer is pag hindi pumasok, it's zero. And if pumasok, there's a 30% premium on the daily rate. I know a lot of the members at the Philippine HR group are not really from the HR field, and that's really okay. But the questions that often appear at the Philippine HR group can be so simplistic that any experienced HR should already know the answer if they studied or did their homework or nag-Google. So this has actually caused me a lot of concern on the state of local HRs that the Philippines has. I can still remember the time when three HR members actually called me on how to compute pro rata 13th month pay. And I thought it was akala ko joke lang kasi there were three of them in the department. So I thought that one of them would know the answer. And totoo lang talaga, I mean, at least they were very honest about it, is that they really didn't know what pro rata meant. 'Di ba? So, parang for me lang, it's easy naman for me to answer, but it's also a very basic question that every HR should know while they're at the position na. Kasi if you're still asking me what pro rata means, that's really a problem, not just for you, but also for the company that you serve and the people that you manage. In short, the Philippine HR practitioners still have much improvement to be desired. We are already in the position, but we have difficulties of actually fulfilling the competency needs our roles require. In general, the local Philippine HRs are very process oriented. And with the advent of new technologies coming in, lalong-lalo na sa mga pagaling na mga HR information systems that are being introduced in the market nowadays, maraming trabaho sa local HR natin ang magiging obsolete. For example, many companies still had traditional timekeepers who count hours worked, overtimes, and holidays to make the payroll, a task that can easily be automated. Over time, better HR information systems and payroll systems will arise to make these positions obsolete. Dati may mga shorthand writers, right? And now everybody can type and do reports using their phones. Technology has a way of making jobs obsolete. And unfortunately, if Philippine HR practitioners still focus on being admin or process oriented, I foresee that the HR departments will contract and get smaller, making many jobs, maybe yours, soon obsolete. So next is next. Ayan. The problem pa is the Philippine labor market on average is still very short-sighted and immature with lower reading and math comprehension. Okay? Totoo to. What does that mean? That means that for many companies, for many employees that we serve, medyo pasaway din kasi ang mga Pilipino. It's hard to manage people who cannot really read or understand, and minsan ginagawa mo na yung trabaho mo, nag-explain ka na ng mabuti, pero sila pa yung galit kahit na sila naman ang mali. So such local workforce has a tendency to tire out Philippine HR practitioners. That's the reason why people think that the Philippine HR is parang a calling or a vocation instead of a legitimized job that can actually make you tons of money. Next, the government is no help because DOLE is very pro-labor and can be discouraging to both employees and employers, to investors. So how many of you have experienced DOLE complaints na hindi naman totoo? Sasabihin ng mga tao ay nabuso sila pero hindi naman totoo. Sinabi ng tao hindi sila binayaran pero hindi naman totoo. And no matter what, our Department of Labor still welcome such complaints. And this is very bad news for us kasi if you're handling HR and then you receive a complaint, for example, from DOLE, parang it seems that the employee is attacking you and your competency. So, syempre, minsan, nakakapagod po yan sa atin at madali tayong mag-give up kasi parang it's very frustrating for us that no matter how good we do our jobs, kahit na in-NTE mo na, dinocument mo na lahat, terminate mo ng ayos, siya pa yung may mali, tapos idodole ka pa. 'Di ba? And magagalit yung boss mo kasi pagdating ng love letter, tatanungin niya sa'yo, o ano to? 'Di ba? And then you're forced to defend yourself. So it's not really a surprise on why many Filipino HRs are very burnt out in their jobs. Kasi no matter how good you are, there will still be parang challenges that faces you. That's probably not found anywhere else. Next. And lastly, the Filipino culture can cause another disadvantage. Kasi while everybody's talking about the future of HR and tech overseas, we can't help but dive into office politics and gossip. Our pambansang pastime is to be a marites, and even many of our professional organization still has time to chismis about Heart Evangelista and Cheese Escudero's marriage with the claims of adultery and a possible love child. Totoo hindi, right? Oh. So masyadong maraming hindi masyadong professional dito sa Philippines, right? Which can cause us a big problem talaga. So next, and I'd like everyone to listen, ha? Here are the frustrations of being Philippine HR. Please type yes if na-experience nyo yun. Okay? Go. First is, no matter what I do, my boss or my employees do not appreciate. Okay? Type yes if na-experience nyo yan. Pag mabait ka, masyado kang mabait, galit sa'yo yung boss. Pag masyado ka naman matapang, galit naman sa'yo yung employees. Saan ka ba tatayo, di ba? Next. The next one is, my boss does not understand the problems of an HR and set unrealistic expectations. Oh, if you're in interviewing or recruitment, mababa ng sweldo. Sabi ng boss mo, maghanap ka ng 100 seats in a span of time. And it's very frustrating kasi ikaw yung nagtatawag, 'di ba? Tapos parang walang pumapasok, walang what do you call it? Walang na-onboard and then ikaw pa may mali. Next. Next. How can I do my job if there's limited budget and I'm always seen as a cost center? So it's a very big problem kasi sa atin, ang tingin sa atin ng tao, laging gastos lang. 'Di ba? Walang budget ang HR. Kasi what type of money do you make when you actually manage people, right? Next. I do not get the respect I deserve and I feel that my pay is too low for what I give. Ah, 'di ba? So, a lot of people from HRs are complaining about their low pay. Lahat na nabigyan na ng promotion, ng salary increase, pero ikaw mababa pa rin. Next. My company is not legally compliant and it does not fit with my values. Pero since hindi ako maka-resign kasi kailangan ko ng pera, I have to comply. That's another popular one, right? Ay, next. There's a lot of politics in the office and I am losing in the game. Maraming palakasan, pero ikaw hindi ka malakas. Yung ibang taong pasaway, sila pa yung malakas. O, diba? May mga nagno-no, yung mga nagno-no dapat mag-speak sa sa HR Calabarzon to share experience, 'di ba? Next. How can you solve stupidity and low comprehension? Ayan, sa mga taong nagpe-payroll, yung mga taong tagasagot ng mga labor complaints, ang hirap-hirap talagang magturo pag yung tao ayaw makinig. Next. It's all about them. How about my own mental health and well-being? Right? Now, I give you a lot of frustration of Philippine HRs. My question back to you is this. Next. Lahat yan puro reklamo. The question is, what are we going to do about it? 'Di ba? So that's the reason I'm making this talk. Because I want you to have a, next slide. Ito kasi, 'di ba? Parang for me, feelings do not solve problems. I know you're sometimes it's very hard for you to be parang to move on kasi parang you feel so bad eh, 'di ba? When people attack you, when people don't appreciate you, when people sermon you, syempre it's very natural for us to feel very negative, to be angry, to be upset, to have a feeling of helplessness and a loss of control, and to be depressed. But feelings do not solve the problem. What solves the problem is this. Next slide. Okay. So what I'm going to do right now is to introduce to you, 'di ba, nasabi ko na yung problema ng mga Philippine HR right now. So there's you right there. And what I'm going to tell you is a possible solution to this problem. Kasi lahat naman tayo pare-pareho eh, right? O yan. What if you have the solution to the problem but your employer does not support your idea? Tama namang tanong eh, right? What I'm introducing to you is a mindset change for your empowerment and growth. Kasi hindi naman tayo gumagawa ng talk para ma-depress kayo eh. Nire-remind ko lang sa inyo yung totoo. Pero instead of changing the situation, I want you to change your mindset so that you will feel empowered and be able to grow in our jobs. Okay? So let's be honest. Many of us see our jobs in HR and Philippine HR as a vocation or a calling. 'Di ba? Parang for us, para tayong mga public school teachers. Very little appreciation from both parents and students. Ikaw na nga naglalabas ng pera to make things happen, right? And the pay's shit. So no matter how hard we work or what we do, people still do not appreciate us. And all it takes is one employee complaint to have management change their minds about us and to kick us out. Right? So marami tayong hugot sa job. So the question is, since you feel this way, what are we going to do about it? Kasi for me, if this is how we feel and we decide to just suck it, then parang nagtotolerate tayo doon sa complaint. And when that happens, syempre madedepress ka talaga. And it's not good for your mental health and well-being, right? On the flip side, if this is how you feel and then you change it, then it's very empowering. Okay? So a mindset change for empowerment and growth. Next. So now I presented to you a localized Philippine HR issue. You have a choice now. The world is quickly changing and there's so much to be accomplished. Being a Philippine HR can be thankless, useless, with all the low pay and all the factors, both from the company and from the employee side, all ganging up on you to make life and work for you harder. For many of you, the situation may feel helpless. And there's only a few choices. First, either you tolerate it, kasi kailangan mo ng sahod. Two, quit and actually change careers in a non-HR profession. So at least you can have that recognition, reward, and money that you and your family might need. C, quit and actually stop working if you can, because who wants to work if your mental health is to be sacrificed? Okay? And that is why I accepted this talk. I don't usually talk too much in public. I leave that to the other experts at the HR Cafe. But the opportunity to share with you how I feel what the future of Philippine HR will be is an offer too good to pass. And it's my advocacy to share with you a solution to the common problems of HRs being relegated as a passive support function and to stop you to be frustrated about your jobs. Okay? The future of Philippine HR is how we make it. While many of you feel that Philippine HR can be useless, tireless, helpless, I want to make you feel naman na it's really up to you if you want to continue that path or not. I do believe that many HRs will fail and sail in the sea of mediocrity. Meaning to say, there are HRs who might graduate from psychology or HRM, diba? And are still making minimum wages or a little about it with little acknowledgement, promotion, or self-care. They complain about bad bosses and bad employees and bad companies who are out to stifle their growth and force them to resign. Diba? And yet, there will be a group of HRs, okay? There will be a group of HRs who will move ships, who will move ships. They will find their careers, they will find themselves growing their careers step by step, and that after every job they find themselves in a position of more authority, more monetary rewards, and definitely more joy. They exercise the principle of magis, which is the opposite of quiet quitting, and work with the notion that every day should be better than the last and that there's no place else for their careers to go but up. Given the two choices, which HR are you? Are you the HR who will live in a sea of pwede na, bahala na si Batman, or will you be an HR who will keep on getting promoted because you deserve that type of salary, because you bring so much value to the companies that you will serve that every company will give you their arm and their leg just so you will stay with them. So I hope, next, I'm going to share with you the story of Chicken Little. Alam mo yung story na yon, Chicken Little? It's a story of a chicken where the acorn fell on its head. And then the chicken was running around and saying like, the sky is falling and the sky is falling and the sky is falling. I started with telling everybody how bad Philippine HR will be, but there is a moral lesson to the story, which is, next, there are opportunities if you have courage, even when you feel that the sky is falling. Okay, I want to repeat that, ha? Even if it seems na the Philippine or local HRs is not at a very good place right now, if you have courage and have the ability to see opportunities, okay, life will be good to you even when you feel that the sky is falling. All right? Sige. Next. Opportunities favor those who are agile and competent. Agile means to move quickly and easily. Competent means having the necessary ability, knowledge, or skill to do something successfully. If you listen too literally sa sinabi ko kanina, it seems that the Philippine HR future is bleak. Paano ka naman makalaban sa computers, technology, AI, chatbots, right? Kasi it seems very powerful. And what type of power do we actually have given like all these special tech things na masyadong mahal, right? what type of advantage do we have? But next, next. If you have the authority, if you have the capability to galvanize the organization to move, which means to shock or excite somebody in taking action, I strongly believe that you can find opportunities in the future of Philippine HR. Ano ang kailangan natin? It's very hard for us to change the landscape. It's hard for us to change our nationality, our companies, our colleagues, our bosses. But what we can do is we can change ourselves. I sincerely believe that those with high EQ, those who have proper communication and people skills, will be able to make a difference. Because when you have such a skill, you can actually increase your status in whatever job that you have, no matter where you go. Okay? Ulitin ko ha, masyadong mahirap palitan ang ating sitwasyon. Pero pwede nating palitan ang sarili natin. We can change the way we communicate and deal with others, and we can change the way we think. I believe that the future of Philippine HR benefits those who can pivot very quickly and who has the competency to do their job. And lastly, somebody with a high EQ, somebody who can communicate and deal with people will have that cream of the crop, that special advantage that many HRs here and overseas do not have. Okay? Next. Next slide. So what are the skills? So I'm here to tell you the opportunities in the Philippine HR's immediate future. You need to know what are the skill sets that are needed. And then after this session, take parang webinars or classes to help you add in that gap. Kasi if you have these skills, mas madali kayong ma-promote, mas madali kayong ma-hire, at mas madali kayong umakyat sa posisyon. If you do not have these skills, okay lang. But you will be relegated to a more administrative and task-based position, and baka later on, baka ma-obsolete yung trabaho mo. Kasi you're replaceable. Okay? So I hope I make this very clear. So there are many opportunities. I started before, nasabi ko, parang we're screwed because technology will make our jobs obsolete. But I'm giving you a hope is that while the situation might be bleak for people who do not want to change and who want to keep on doing the same thing over and over, there's a lot of opportunities for Philippine HR practitioners who are smart enough to know how to the future trend, what the future trends are, how to pivot, how to actually claim these roles so that they're very much attractive to any possible recruiter here in overseas. So here are the trends. First, next, remote working. Okay, because of COVID-19, naging popular yung mga work from home, remote working, and now many companies are asking their employees to come back to the workforce, right? To come back to the offices. And we all know naman na a lot of, because mataas yung rent ng BGC tsaka ng Makati. So there's a lot of companies who are resorting to hot desk, okay? Or hybrid, flexible hybrid remote working. So due to COVID-19 and communication technology advances, remote working has gained in popularity over the last 2 years. Next. So because of Zoom and StreamYard, that what we're doing right now, you can actually meet and have meetings with people not on the same time zones, not on the same country, diba? Next. Because of high rentals and inflation, may gulay, magkano na kasi ngayon yung lupa, right? So there is an additional incentive for companies to cut back on their office spaces. Next. Hot desks and lockers. So a lot of different companies, international companies, are now using hot desks, which I'm going to explain later. Next. Improvements in data privacy. Dati madali siyang I mean, there's a lot of our data that can be protected nowadays. Gumagaling na kasi ang technology for us to encrypt data so that even if you work from home or even if you work in the beach, hindi pa rin ma-access ng competitors yung mga data nyo. Next. The use of apps and chatbots have now introduced the prospect of employees in different locations to still feel that feeling na they're part of the community, even when they don't meet face to face. Next. Artificial intelligence is starting to manage remote workers. So starting from what do you call it? Filtering the resumes to onboarding to actually deployment and even pagkatapos. Next. So hot desking and office hoteling is starting to become very popular. When we were in Singapore, we visited the TechGov office, which is very similar to the Department of Information and Communication Technology here in the Philippines. What they did is that because of the pandemic, they're not very sure about what the government regulations will be. They've transformed their office space. Instead of every person has a desk, it's parang they just prepare an area for people to work and you can book a space or a table space so for you to work there. Your items, your office materials is placed on lockers, but parang everyone can still manage to do the work themselves kasi uh, parang they can just go there whenever they have work done and then stay home whenever they have work done. How many of you guys have this type of arrangement already? Is there anyone ba? Or wala pa, traditional, everybody has their own has their own table, right? So tama. Shriyanshu Deepak is saying, applications of metaverse is also a new trend in the HR world. So how many of you actually use hot desking at work, right? So that's one of a lot of us, for example, for manufacturing, it's a little bit more difficult. But for those who don't need you to get to work every day, this is one option. Why? Because there's many benefits as well. Next. Next. The benefits of hot desking is you maximize space utilization by reducing desk and rooms. Kasi mahal talaga magkaroon. It's very expensive for everyone to have a desk each or a room each, right? So if you can actually schedule it in such a way that everyone can just book a table, a lot of space, a lot of rental expense can be saved. And that can be spent on someone else. You reduce real estate costs and rent. You improve desk efficiency. So all you have to do is sit, plug, and work. So there's no disgusting things that are left out in the office. There's also better employee socialization because teammates or interdepartments can all sit together on a space and actually work on a project. So instead of being very process based, HR is now becoming more output based. So that's very good. So project people can come together even if they're in finance, even if they're in like operations or sales, because parang everyone can just book the same desk in the same area. There's better employee socialization, improved collaboration for group work, a feeling of autonomy and empowerment because you can always pick a space in the office. For example, you want to sit closer to the window, you want to sit in another room. So there's a feeling of more autonomy and feeling cool, right? There's hybrid work flexibility and of course, there's workplace cleanliness because the policy is usually clean as you go. So if you don't really own the space, after you use the table, you clean the table, you make it neat for the next person to use as well. There's opportunity here where, okay, next, in TechGov, the HR was very much involved in the planning of the spaces. Leading ko in TechGov in Singapore, the HRs was instrumental in helping plan the space utilization of their office. Okay, next. So, what does that mean? Next, if you know a little bit of construction and setup, if you know a little bit about office and facility planning, so you know, like you have that mindset on how the office space will be, how the interdepartments work together, where to place, the meeting rooms, etc. How many square meters do you actually need for your staffing and long-term goals? Next. Next. If you know how to help, not naman, not do it per se, but you know how to design or give an idea on how a workplace management system works. Next. And you can actually read data, so you can get insight from the analytics you get from the technology booking system. Then that's a very good skill to have for for any company in the future. You know what I mean? A lot of us kasi parang, ay, we don't do any measuring, we don't count the number of lights, we don't, inches, cm. For me, it's nothing. My question to you guys is, what are you afraid of? 'Di ba? Parang quiet quitting is really bad for the HR field. I don't think that any HR should be afraid in learning new things. So for me, you don't have to be an expert on space planning, but you shouldn't be afraid when your boss asks your input on how to do it. Because if you open your mind and you know how to plan things, I don't think you will be an HR officer or a rank and file anymore. But it's important for you to be open and to not be afraid and to actually read on such things so that when the opportunity is offered, you know how to help. And if you can help, your boss will really reward you later on. Because not every HR wants to do it. They always want to say, yeah, tama. As Edwin, learning about ergonomics. What are the right chairs to buy? How to procure the chairs? Eh tayo kasing mga HR, hindi para sa procurement officer yan. Hindi para sa operations yan. Hindi para sa finance yan. Why are you guys passing the work to somebody else? Why are you telling other people that you can't do it? Actually, kahit hindi mo alam, learn about it. Read up on it. Because it goes like that type of jobs, which is very high paying and is only for a few people in a big organization. Yun yung mataas na sweldo. Hindi yung nagbibilang ng hours or ng overtime or the job. Those jobs are becoming obsolete, my friends. I mean, anyone can do it and computers will replace you one day. But it's not easy to plan for spaces because it's all about humans. It's all about socialization. It's all about how departments can work with another department, with another department. That you cannot automate too much. You can automate, but not as perfectly if you really know how everything works. Next. So in order for you to get this, you need to be able to go know a little bit about strategic planning, construction, a little bit of construction lang. Huwag kayo masyado matakot sa mga square meters, sa mga sa mga how many watts, right? 12 watts is brighter than what? 6 watts? A brighter office will cause more people to enjoy coming to work, right? Who wants to work in a very dim office? So kunyari ako. And then the HR manager comes to me and say, "Ma'am, if we change the lights in our office and makes it a little bit brighter, more people will be more energized." And I'll be like, "You know what? That's a really good idea. But how much does it cost to change the lights?" If you can answer that question, I don't think you should be paid 15 or 20,000. I think you should pay way more because you're solving a solution that your company don't even know before. And that's what Sir Ron is telling us about strategic planning. How strategic are you? And if you're not strategic, what are you going to do about it? Next. There's also a concept of budgeting. How many of you do budgeting beyond payroll? O, diba? Sige nga. Okay. How many of you do budgeting beyond payroll? Sige nga, let me ask. Me, say me. Me. Meron ba? All of the people who are watching, how many of you do budgeting? A little bit of budgeting, kahit na paano. Kahit sa HR field niyo. O, me. O, say, I, me. O, say, who else pa? 1% is bad, ha? Okay, 2%, 3%, 4%. 4% still bad. 5%, 6%, 7%, 8%. 8%, 9%, 10, 11, 12, 12% out of 10 there's like 13, 40. So there's like 15 of you out of 134. That's bad. All right. I want to encourage everyone to start learning about budgeting, to start learning about Excel, and to start learning about numbers. Because it's really hard to be promoted if you don't know how to budget, how to procure items, how to analyze numbers. Gets? Ulitin ko ah, it's really, really hard for an HR manager to be promoted or to experience a very high salary if you are afraid of numbers. 'Di ba yung mga tao kasi, ma'am, nosebleed ako. Ayoko ng math. Kaya nga ako nag-HR eh, kasi I love people, I hate the math. Well, there are HRs who don't like the math. I don't like the math, but I know I need the math in order to promote myself and to have some sort of progression in my career. That's why I do it. And guess what? Those who are not afraid of the math and how to apply it strategically in their organization will find themselves at a higher salary rate than those who choose to do the same thing over and over. Next. And lastly, of course, software planning. Oh, hindi tayo IT, di ba? Kaya nga tayo nag-HR kasi ayaw natin ng software development eh. But you don't really need to know how to program in order to help out in software planning. Lalong-lalo na in very big companies, right? And they want to introduce software to make things more efficient. They always need a point person per department to coordinate with a software developer, right? So in a department, may isang tao talaga makikipag-usap doon. The question is, are you that person or not? Okay? Tayo kasi, no, I value my 8 hours of work. I want to get home by 5 o'clock. I don't really know anything about tech eh. No, you don't need to know about programming. But you have that knowledge to help the software planning supplier to design the program that you can use inside your organization. Okay? And if you're that person who always volunteer for that type of position, I don't think you'll be paid minimum. Okay? But if, for example, you are afraid, ay hindi, ayoko yan. Ay hindi, ayoko yan. Then you'll always be in the same position. And sayang talaga yung opportunity. And I don't want you guys to have your jobs made obsolete. Next, opportunity two, the ability to talk IT. I talked about it before. Right now, a lot of companies are pushing for more IT. Parang they're automating, digitalizing everything. So project management, for example, on how you get approvals, how you make change requests, create incident reports, or display dashboards. Next. It's helpful as well for administrative tasks, for scheduling meetings, record minutes of the meeting, reserving conference room. Next. Customer service tasks, answering FAQs, escalating to human agents, sharing knowledgeable articles. Next. And lastly, HR tasks. Conduct interactive onboarding, store 201 files, automate forms generation, and resolve employee queries. Here's the question. Pagpasok ng technology sa loob ng company, but because there's going to be a developer and they're going to propose to your company this type of solution. Right? Kasi pag kinuha yung mga HRIS na to, hindi naman agad-agad pinapasok agad. They usually ask the people inside the company for input and for feedback. And even if you already get such IT, they will still have to customize it for your company, right? So it's not like plug and play. If, especially for large companies, it's customized to your needs. There's always a person in the organization or per department where the company will ask for feedback. My question is, when this happens, kung wala pa po kayo, can you actually speak their language? Again, I'm not asking you guys to know how to program, but you can't be parang afraid. I want, if you want a higher salary, if you want higher career progression, I'm encouraging you guys to be more brave, to read up more, and to actually observe and listen how other people do it so that when comes the time talaga that there is an opportunity to do IT or to improve the types of system that you have inside your company, you'll be the one to volunteer and say, boss, I want to be part of that project. Because if you're successful in that project, it will really open a lot of doors for you. Given that, 'di ba, I talked about how parang the future of Philippine HRs was bleak before. Wala yan. It might be bleak for some, but it won't be bleak for you because you know how to take opportunity. You can see opportunity and you can develop yourself in a way that you can be ready when opportunities for progression comes. Next. So there's also that need. Next, please. Yeah. There's also that need for data analytics. And I'm using Gino's part of this. So data analytics is the art and science of turning garbage into something useful and compelling. O, diba? So sometimes we see, tayo, diba? We see Excel. We see how attendances, how tardy people are, how many attendance issues people have. We have records on how productive people are, 'di ba? How overtimes, the relation between productivity and overtimes. I mean, if you have a good technology system, or even like if you really focus on it, ang dami-dami nating data points inside our job. Correct? My question to you guys is, given these information, are you the type of person who just saves it into your computer, or who actually learns how to read through the data so that you can make sense out of it, so that you can propose to your boss on how to make things better? Ulitin ko kasi parang masyadong complicated eh. There's a lot of data, okay, in our companies right now. And it can be very overwhelming. Sabi ko nga kanina, there's gonna be a lot of automation and digitalization that will come kasi technology changes right now is very fast. How are you as an HR practitioner in analyzing data? Okay? Kahit na you don't know how to do SQL or you don't know how to do Python or statistics, kahit na papaano, my challenge for you guys is at least arm yourself or equip yourself with the basic Microsoft Excel knowledge, improve your critical thinking and reading comprehension, take classes on data visualization, improve your presentation skills, and learn how machines work so that when your boss asks you to analyze data points, you know how to give him a very insightful, smart answer. That when he listens to you and your analysis, he has nothing else but to think, I have to promote this person because if I don't give this person more money, this person will move somewhere else. Because such a person is very much in demand. And that person is a person who can read data points and come up with some sort of analysis that will help the company do its job better. Next. How are you in analyzing data? It starts with disintegrated, unrelated, scattered pieces of data like your Excel, payroll, whatever. Analyzing, combining it, restructuring it with logic and derivatives, and then organizing it to tell a story and for management to gain insights that can be game changing. Okay? I I'm I'm not as good yet. I'm better than average when it comes to looking at data points, organizing them, and then making sense out of them. And I want to challenge you guys to improve this skill because this type of skill will be more in demand over the next few years. Huwag kayong matakot sa computers or sa robots or sa AI. They only know how to harvest data. They can probably analyze data and package it to you in some way. Pero iba talaga ang isang Filipino HR practitioner who can give meaningful insights on that data. Because robots cannot really, what do you call it, is not perfect in reading people. There's still some limitations to that. But if you're the type of person who can make sense out of data that's available in your companies right now, oh my gosh, you're gold. And you will be highly paid. If not now, but in the future. Next. The opportunity to compute and make better financial choices for your company. O, diba? O, ito. Number 1. Next. Subpar employee selection and management. When you hire, do you maximize every employee that you hire? Are they working productively? Continuous hiring, training, and getting the wrong people will cost you money. Every time you hire, every time you onboard, every time you train, that's a lot of money. If you really know how to recruit properly, you will save your employer a lot of money. There's bad hiring selection. Kasi sometimes, okay na yung team mo, pero may dumating ng isang pasaway. Yung pasaway na yon, marites, nabubulong palagi, naghahanap ng away, all of a sudden, magre-resign 5. Right? Or 10. So you have to do the same thing all over again. And the only problem you had was to actually hire and not kick out that bad apple in the first place. Oh, how many of you guys have that na dahil sa isang tao, ang daming tao nag-resign? And yung tao na yon, kasi masyadong pasaway, hindi nyo alam kung anong gagawin ninyo, hindi nyo matanggal, kaya ang daming taong nag-resign, and then hindi nyo matigilan. Right? That's what I'm talking about. Inconsistency of values and fit. You hire people who are looking for a pleasant, parang they want a very challenging, fast-paced environment, and then pinasok mo sa company mo, which is more like traditional. Hindi talaga tatagal yun, di ba? Lack of focus on the growth of people you hire, which is, yun nga, if you don't provide people with the correct training, they'll leave and get trained in another company. Next. Yan, a strategic compensation and benefits will sink the ship. How labor expense, including wages, benefits, and taxes, is one of the largest expense in the balance sheet, in the income statement. Mistakes and theft cost a lot of millions. Actually nga, may joke nga kaming mga HR eh. Saan pinakamasarap magnakaw ang isang tao? Where is one of the best places to steal from a company? Hindi ba sa HR? Hindi ba sa payroll? Ang mga tao, ang maraming perang pwedeng nakawan is actually sa payroll. Kasi pag nag-pad ka ng payroll, usually hindi nahuhuli. 'Di ba? Tapos pag may mga times na dati SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, lalo na sa mga loans, some people would request for a check or like cash from a company. Tapos mali yung number, akala niya for example 600,000 ang hiningi, pero actually 500,000 lang. Sobrang daming theft na nangyayari sa loob ng HR, right? Non-diminution of benefits, meaning to say, masyado kang generous. Ikaw, HR ka. Offer ng benefits. Offer ka ng rice allowance, housing allowance, car allowance. Yung pala, yung company mo, hindi pala kaya. As a result, lumubog yung company mo, lalo na dumating ang pandemya. I actually know a company. The HR manager paid herself the best allowance. I don't know if it's legit or not. But because of what she did, she didn't do her work very well. She was in there for the money, but she was paid a lot more than the general manager. She was the reason why the company failed, and everybody dispersed. Okay. Lastly, security of tenure. Yun yung mga HRs na mahilig mag-fire na not following due process. Diba? So every time you fire somebody and then you don't follow due process, the company has to pay millions of pesos in back wages and separation pay. So that's what I'm talking about on the ability to compute and make better financial choices for your company. Next. Lastly, improper labor planning. Unhappy employees are unproductive employees, and mismanagement of employees can cost companies millions of pesos hiring employees that are actually not needed or productive in the first place. I'm very much concerned when I add headcount because for me, if I had headcount, I need to be able to sustain that headcount now and for the future. My logic is I want to ensure that the people resign, but the business never closes down. Kasi because of overhiring, because every headcount costs money. A lot of HRs, they don't think about that. Para sa kanila, ay, may bagong account ako, hire pa. Ay, may bagong account ako, hire uli. Paano kunyari nag-close yung account? Saan mapupunta lahat ng tao? Ay, hindi ma'am, bayaran na lang namin separation pay. That type of mentality cost the company a lot of money. And it's very irresponsible because that money can be used for something else, like bonuses. Ulitin ko like bonuses. So if you're the type of HR who's very prudent in terms of your recruitment planning, in terms of your managing of employees and making sure that every employee is really um, equipped and really used inside the company, yung wala ka masyadong sobra. Lahat ng tao mo sa loob ng kumpanya mo, kailangan mo, at lahat ng tao nandyan nagtatrabaho, then you're a very much in demand HR. Kasi hindi ka lagi hire ng hire tuwing may kailangan. Kasi yung mga tao mo ngayon, yun na yung ginagamit mo. Yung mga tao, kasi hindi naman lahat ng tao nagtatrabaho ng 8 hours, di ba? Itong tao na to, ito lang ginagawa niya. May time pa siyang parang pang-rest, di ba? You know this person is not highly used or highly optimized. What do? You give this person a job. Ma'am, 'di ba quiet quitting nga? 'Di ba? Parang you don't want people to you don't want to make people tired. You don't want to give them too much work that they will leave the company. And for me, look, stop with the quiet quitting. Instead of looking at it that way, why don't you see it as binibigyan mo siya ng mas maraming trabaho kasi mas mabilis siya sa dati niyang trabaho. And kung magawa niya yung dalawang trabaho, taasan mo ang sahod niya. Para hindi lang yan yung sahod niya. Ulitin ko ha, if a person is only making A, doing A work, don't, for me ha, as a very responsible HR, you give the person B work. Kung kaya niya and kung willing siya. Para yung sahod niya, pwede mong taasan after evaluation as A plus B. 'Di ba? Kasi kung mas marami yung trabaho na binibigay mo sa isang tao, dapat taasan mo rin ang sweldo. Kasi kung hindi mo tinasan ang sweldo, yung tao na yan maghahanap ng ibang trabaho. So for me, if you know there is opportunity in the workplace, give the person additional job, but reward them later either with a bonus or with a pay increase or with a promotion later on. And that's how you keep people happy. Not by giving them work only based on their wage. Eh, kasi kung ganon, di lahat ng tao minimum wage na. But rather give them work so that more work so that they can increase their wages going forward and actually experience a better life for them and their family. That's what I think. So that's what I'm talking about in computing and making better financial choices for your company. Be that HR that you can maximize your employees. You will be don't lose a lot of money by improper by parang firing people left and right and plan labor properly. Next. Opportunity number 4, the ability to market your company properly. LinkedIn released the top 15 companies for 2022. And here is the list. Next. Next slide. They said that these companies, these companies exhibited the ability of advanced career advancement opportunities, upskilling, reskilling, company stability, external opportunity, the right fit, proper gender diversity, and spread of educational backgrounds. Okay? And next, it's kind of true because, next slide, companies that offer stability in our ever changing world of work are the ones that are not only attracting employees but retaining them. People will stay if the company is stable. And for us, a lot of HRs, we do a lot of things to make our company feel stable. I'm giving an example. Next. Next slide. How many of you give welcome kits? Give the best wages. Benefits, lahat na, bigay mo na sa kanya. Free food, free housing, free coffee, free everything. Next. We organize very fun leadership workshops in hotels. We sponsor trainings left and right. We even have gender neutral bathrooms and courses on sensitivity. How many of our companies do this? Sige nga. How many of your companies do that? Sige, me. How many of you do that? Wala. Wala. Ayan. Shiranshu Deepak, how many of your companies actually have this, like very, very good benefits for its people? Okay, next. Here's my question though, Keith and Shiranshu. But back. For me, those are costs with no guarantee of return. Sorry. Okay? Kasi for every onboard, sorry. For any of this, for example, onboarding, welcome kit, wages, free housing, free food, fun leadership seminars in a five-star hotel. I know it's fun, right? Right? But here's the problem. If you have all of this, but you don't fix what's inside your company, all of this is useless. Didn't ko, ha? Even if you have all of this and you make everything so shiny, if you don't fix how the company is run, how the people are, what type of people that you hire, the type of people that you hire, how managers behave, how companies are run, all of this are just cost and people won't stay. Okay? Next slide. I know it's a bit of a trick question and I'm really sorry, but I want to emphasize this. The ability for me to market your property company properly is not in just giving out a lot of benefits or money. It's about making sure that you have the right purpose and values inside your company and making sure that only the people who come into your company have those values. If your employee, for example, is a buaya or an alligator who wants to win no matter of all cost, the person's a superstar. Performance review off the charts. But that person cannot work with anybody inside the company because feeling pa VIP next to the president. What type of values do you have? If that's type of value you want a very merit based company, then that's great, right? Because your company values bias. You want as many bias as possible. And that's really how Trump does it, right? Like he hires a lot of the best people and he even lets his kids like compete with one another, right? But that's not a very healthy, sustainable culture or environment. So, yeah, Sharon is saying we have aligned purpose and values, and we have better leaders today than before. Hence, teamwork right now is better. I'm talking about aligned purpose and values, really work focusing on creating better leaders inside your organization. Kasi a lot of companies in the Philippines, ay, hindi siya magaling mag-lead. What do? Pa-training natin. Then you're going to the Philippine HR group and then you're going to say, how many of you offer training or orientation to make better leaders? Here's my question. Why are you looking for outside help? Why are you not doing your part in training leaders inside your organization? And you say like, well, we want experts, eh. There is a problem if you have to look outside for experts. Good leaders have to be found inside your company. And if they're not there, you have a problem. And if the HR don't really know how to develop leaders, you have a problem, right? Coordinated teamwork based on respect and competency. A lot of people will ask parang, a lot of people will ask this like, ma'am, what do we do? Because, people here don't like each other. There's a lot of office politics. And I'm like, whose fault is it? Right? Who actually manages the culture? I know there are some companies they actually have an HR who manages culture, right? And then to make sure that everybody is all walking on the same pace. How many of you, when people are fighting inside your company, actually talk to these people face to face and actually tell them what's up? And then listening to them properly, finding out what their real problem is, and then mediating para hindi na umabot sa dole. Kasi for us, for our HRs, we do payroll, we're so busy, we do, we come into work, we're so busy, we do a lot, there's a lot of things that we bother about. Pero pag may away dyan, di naman tayo nakikialam. Because, they're adults, so let the line manager take care of it. My question is, do you think such away is very healthy for the company culture? Instead of people working, everybody would be chismising about the away or the scandal that's happening inside your office. Instead of prolonging this scandal, why don't you just talk to both of them, listen to what happened, and then actually decide who is right and who is wrong based on the facts? Because that would end any argument and any tampuhan, and that would put the focus back of the employees in the job at hand instead of the scandal that's happening on that day. Okay, next. Next. There's also a more comfortable work environment. Actually, I think Filipino employees do not mind working for small to medium sized enterprises. They don't mind working for lesser pay so long as it's still fair, as long as they don't feel stressed and anxious and depressed every day because of their work environment. Okay? Ikaw, when you want to go to work, do you want to be excited? Like it's cool, diba? Some of us are very excited in school because we get to see our friends, right? Some of us hate school because we hate our teachers and we hate our classmates because they bully us all the time. The job of a good HR is to make sure that we have a very comfortable work environment so everybody wants to go to school. How do we do that? We do that by changing the way we communicate to everybody else. Kunyari may away dyan. O mare, ano bang problema mo? Ayan, makinig tayo. How about you? Nagsisigawan na sila. Calm down. Tell me what's wrong. And then you listen to both sides. And then you make everybody calm. And then after that, yung lang pala yung problema ninyo eh. Okay lang ba sa'yo pag mag-sorry siya? Okay lang. O, sorry mo. Di mag-sorry din yung isa, eh di tapos na problema. It's a very calm, comfortable environment to work with because everybody is working and paying respect to each other. There should be fairness and consistency in discipline. Kasi the problem with many companies is we don't like to discipline our star performers. The issue is these star performers misbehave and act like VIPs, and our company don't do anything because we're afraid that this person would leave. As a result, so many people leave. Oh. Is the star performer worth an entire department? What's the point of having a company if isa lang pala yung kailangan, eh di siya na magtrabaho, correct? We can't. A growing company needs the cooperation of everyone because a star performer can manage the sales, but you would still need somebody from operation to record the sales, somebody from finance to collect the money, somebody from production to produce the items well, somebody from delivery or logistics to deliver the item, somebody from customer support or marketing to help maintain that relationship with the client. One star performer does not a company make. And it's very important that parang you have that star performer has to understand that the ship is made out of a lot of people. And he's only a star performer because of all the support that he or she is getting in from the entire team. Whose job it is to remind the star performer? It's the HR. Next, merit-based bonuses. I'm okay with okay wage, but please, for people who really outperform, please push for higher bonuses because they deserve it. Next, it's also the opportunity to increase sales. Why? It, sales is not HR, diba? It's a different department. But as I've talked to you a while before, put everything na, mga anim yon. If if there's better employee engagement inside the company, if there's more coordinated cross departments because of the parang what the HRs are doing, if there are practical systems, good leadership inside the company, smart idea instead of politics, and better compensation for everyone, I think the sales will increase. If everybody is focused on the work, definitely the sales will increase, the operations will improve, right? And there will be less time for petics because petics is not part of the office. Okay? And I think the best person to manage this or to facilitate this is next. Sorry, but it's the HR. It's the HR. Is this something like creating a very respectful, calm, pleasant work environment where leaders actually do their jobs and manage the people properly, where everybody treats each other with respect, and the boss actually gives a higher pay to those who are deserving and who do more? That should be our job every day, is to think about how to create a more wonderful working environment for all. Our job is not to timekeep. Our job is not to file for 201. Our job is not to onboard, but our job is to create an environment inside our company that everybody would want to work in. If it's not part of your job yet, start thinking about how to make your company a more solid company to work in, step by step. And if you can do that, your sales will increase because everybody will be working together. Kasi pag tumaas ang sales, ano rin yung tataas? Bonuses, right? A company with a lot of profit will be able to pay its people more. Hindi pwede, for example, 5 billion yung sales, 5 billion pesos ang sales, tas ang baba ng sahod mo, right? Larger companies, more profitable companies mean better compensation for the people who make a difference inside the company. Okay, next. Opportunity 6, malapit na. Opportunity 6, the ability to improve operations and discipline people. Next. Go ahead. I'm sure this is all just a review, but I'm sure that you guys know the concept of due process and twin notice rule. And I'm talking to you about it because I'll go back to discipline. If you have a bad apple in your company, how much do you do to kick that person up out? For me, it's not just about performance, it's also about work attitude. And if I feel that person is not a very good fit in terms of values or the type of attitudes I want inside my company, I kick that person out during probationary period. Okay? How many of you HRs actually open your eyes and observe your probationary employees sharply and be able to capably evaluate these people on their work attitudes by the time they're supposed to be regularized? Because if you don't have no clue about your probationary employees and you leave the probationary employees regularization only in the hands of their line managers, which may or may not be competent, you might have a problem later on when that pasaway, bad attitude probationary employees wreak havoc as a regular employee and hindi mo na siya matatanggal. I'm very, very conscious. Pagpasok pa lang ng isang empleyado, training pa lang, I look at how they sit. I look at how early they are, the type of questions they have the type of questions that they have, if mareklamo ba, if nega ba, if maraming problema, if the person's always complaining, like, hindi pa ba tayo tapos? You know? Bakit wala pa tumatawag sa akin? I'm very, very conscious about that. And if I feel that an employee is not a good match because the person is, for me, parang feeling entitled siya na maging boss di ba? I make a point not to regularize that person because I want to protect the values and the culture inside my company. And I don't want anybody like that creating havoc in the teamwork and the culture that my company has. How many of you actually, tama yun, Lorna Cruz, we have a 60-40 agreement, 60% work performance, 40% work attitude and behavior for probationary. But here's the thing, how many HRs don't know about the work attitude and behavior of their probationary employees? Ulitin ko that should be the case. But how many of you actually know your probationary employees and observe them closely? If you haven't, observe and get rid of those who exhibit bad work attitudes and behavior. Easy. All you have to do is evaluate them, fail them within the first 180 days. Get rid of them. Ma'am, nakakaawa kasi solo parent, whatever, ek. Your job is to protect everybody else inside your company. Your job is not to protect this probationary employee who misbehaves. Okay? Let me repeat that. The job of the HR is to protect the values, the culture, and the well-being of all the regular employees inside the company. It's not your job to change the behavior of the probationary employee who keeps on misbehaving. Evaluation on third month and fifth month for probationary employees. Let me challenge you. Why not evaluate more frequent than that? Evaluate on the first week, evaluate on the first month, evaluate in the second month. Look for cues, listen to complaints. If the person can't work with the team, get rid of them. Get rid of them. Because it is our job to improve operations and employee discipline and get rid of everybody who is not a good fit inside our company, probationary or regular. Okay? And if you can't do that, the next slide. Next slide. Twin notice rule. Make sure pag regular, you follow the twin notice rule. Next. And pag talagang pasaway, tanggalin nyo na. Ano ba? Diba? Eh, ang hirap tanggalin kasi mareklamo. Kaya nga tanggalin nyo eh, di ba? Bakit kayo takot? Don't be afraid getting rid of people who's not a good fit inside your company because these are the people who will sink your ship. And if you are the person who can handle the most pasaway of employees, there will be a lot of employers who want you on their team. Because employees misbehave because the HRs allow them to. And if you know how to properly discipline employees, they won't be running amok in the first place. Ulitin ko opportunities are there for HR managers who know the rules and who know how to discipline misbehaving employees and changing them to be behaving employees, and if not, get rid of them legally. If you can do that, if you can do that, call me. There's a lot of employers who are looking for HR managers like that and offering them top dollar. Next. Lastly, my last, yun, the ability to plan for succession and create better leaders. Do you know that CEOs and COOs are the highest paid executives? But CHROs or Chief Human Relations Officers are next with an average base pay in the US of 574,000. Doon lang tayo magtrabaho, di ba? So, CHRO is moving away from a support and administrative role, and HRs is becoming more of a game changer and a person who enables business strategy. Next. Is it possible for HR to be a CEO? Yes. Next. Chief Human Resource Officers make the best CEO because, one, two, three, sige, two more, is because studies have found that our leadership style, thinking style, and emotional competency are very similar to that of CEOs. We think, studies have found that leadership style, thinking style, and emotional competency of a CHRO is most similar to a CEO. Yun lang, hindi tayo tumatanggap ng CEO. Bakit? Number one, takot tayo sa math. Number two, we want work-life balance. We don't like parang problems at work. We're afraid of taking the next step. We feel we don't have confidence to lead the organization. We think it might be better for somebody else to take that position and lead the company. And I'm like, what the hell are you thinking? As I've said, arm yourself, equip yourself properly. So when that opportunity comes, you can grab it. Because CHROs make a shitload of money, right? Shitload of money. Next. Conclusion. Except for the COO, balik tayo, the CHRO has the most similar talents or skills to that of the CEO. Next. There's a lot of, wait lang Wait just a bit. Wait. Okay. The ability to plan for succession and create better leaders. And that's the reason why there's a lot of, what do you call it? There's a lot of CHRO who became CEOs. And Mulcahy of Xerox, Amit Mittal of Aviva India, and Mary Barra of GM, General Motors, are just some of the example. Ayan, Lina Nair was CHRO of Unilever and is now CEO of Chanel. I don't know about you, I want to be CEO too, right? And I really feel that the HR managers are the best person to be CEO. Next. So I started the talk with bad news for Philippine HR. That local HR is very process oriented. Philippine labor market on average is very short sighted. It's bad because we handle the most pasaway of tao and we have this crab mentality and being marites as part of their culture. But next slide. The good news is that there's opportunities abound. So if you possess critical skills needed by company in a highly changing environment, there's no place to go but up. Next. Data analytics, basic management information systems, advanced Excel and the ability to read financials and data, agility and the ability to wear multiple hats, technical competence to make the right decisions, and mental resilience. The world is your oyster, okay? And you have your pick of the companies to work for. Next. How is your upskill and reskilling? Next. Opportunities for the future as a recap for Philippine HR practitioners, the ability to plan spaces, the ability to talk and do IT, or at least be able to help IT understand or gain insights for what's going on in the department, the ability to compute and make better financial decisions, the ability to market your company, the ability to increase sales and bonuses. Kasi when you create a wonderful company to work in, you will have larger sales. And obviously, if you have larger sales, you have better bonuses. Next. The ability to smoothen operations and set the employee discipline and make a company in a way that only the best and the nicest people are there. And that's possible. I've worked with some companies, they're global, thousands of people, but the head of Asia knows everybody by name. Super nice person. And no petics, no petics, even though they were number one in their field in banking. But it is possible. You're like, no, no, it's not possible. It's possible. And I really do believe that there are certain people in the organization who created that type of environment so that the organization will have a very stable foundation to grow and expand. Because if the HRs do not do their jobs, bahala na, sino na mag-on board, kahit sino nandyan, if anyone who's in the company and then you let bad people wreak havoc in your company, you can't grow. Sure, your sales may increase, but that's very temporary. For a company to grow, expand, and outlast its competitors, HRs must take accountability in building a company that has a solid foundation of teamwork, good leadership, respect, competency, fairness, reasonableness, and everything that is rainbows and unicorns. Is it possible? I think it is. And who is responsible? I think it's you and me and everybody else in this forum and everyone else who's listening. And of course, ability to plan for succession and create better leaders. Next. So for me, thank you for your time. My name is Tina Khoe. I really hope that given my talk, you understood the core of what I was talking about. If you want to show support, please like and subscribe to my blog at tinainmanila.com or follow me at my Facebook page in Tina in Manila and also share your ideas on what you think. Because for me, I started with bad news that that we're screwed. Philippine HR is screwed because we're very process oriented. And yet I end my talk with hope and a call for action for those who are courageous and who will take advantage of the opportunities in the company in it that's going on right now, because the opportunities which comes with higher salaries, benefits, promotions, etc., is for the few. And for those who know how to take advantage of it, I have high hopes for you. And please, please, when you're very successful, remember me so that you can thank me later on when you're already the CEO of a very big multinational company in the future. All right? Thank you, everyone. And now we open the floor for Q&A.
Yes, ma'am. We are now open for our question. Actually, ma'am, merong message dito. How to contact you for inviting you as a speaker for HR events?
They can message me at tina9manila, or they can contact me at Tina Khoe. So either way, I'm faster when you PM me at Tina Khoe. Wala bang tanong? Anong nanonood?
Ma'am, meron dito isa lang. Actually, isa.
Mm.
So, napaka-clear naman, ma'am eh. Actually, may mga, ano nga kami, parang nagugulat ako. Alam kong napaka-broad ni Ma'am Tina, pero parang napaka-straightforward talaga, ma'am eh. Talagang tira, diretso sa puso, yung lalo na yung mga HR na hindi talaga masyadong nagagawa yung trabaho dahil hinaharangan kami ng mga tao sa paligid namin, especially lalo na kung kapag mga ating mga managers. And naranasan ko yun, ma'am, yung talagang hindi ka nabibigyan ng chance na ipakita at ano yung gawin, yung tama mong dapat gawin. So,
May masasabi ako dyan.
sa
Sabi ng asawa ko, masyado daw akong confident. Ang mali ko daw, masyado daw akong dense. Meaning to say, marami na akong kaaway. Marami na akong nakakalaban. Pero tira pa rin. And I'd like to encourage everyone. Sabi ko, parang for me, di ba we're always blaming our colleagues. We're blaming our departments. And we're always blaming our bosses or our companies on why they're bringing us down. And then we say, kasi in the Philippines, there's the crab mentality eh. You know, like every time you're successful, somebody brings you down, right? How many of you say that? Diba? How many of you say that? Kasi yung colleague ko eh. Kunyari, kayo, walang pera, di ba? Walang pera. Kasi alam mo, yung asawa ko, yung kapatid ko, yung anak ko, lahat na eh, di ba? And for me, parang bakit lagi yung problema na sa ibang tao? Bakit wala tayong kinukuha para sa sarili natin? Right? I'd like to give you guys an insight. And this is a very, very, very important takeaway. And I tell my mother this. Sabi ko, why are you worrying about things you cannot control? Right? Kanya, for example, bad bosses. You complain about your boss. Bakit? Gusto mo bang palitan yung boss mo? 'Di ba? Kaya mo magawa yung trabaho ng boss mo. Kung kaya mo, eh di gawin mo para matanggal yung boss mo. You know, bad bosses, they don't last very long. Either they get fired or they're stupid enough to resign. Right? Because they're bad and they're stupid. They're stupid. They're really stupid because they think about themselves. They're very selfish. For me, dapat you have to be strategic. Strategic with your career, strategic with your family, strategic with your life. How? You can't change your company, the culture, your boss. What you do is you change yourself. You change the way you look at things. It's like a chessboard. I look at things like a chessboard. Oh, these are the pieces. There's the pawn, there's the king, there's the bishop, there's a knight. They can't change, right? The purpose of the bishop is diagonal lang eh. Ganun lang talaga yan. The purpose of the rook is diretso lang eh. The pawn is like this. But you are the chess player. And what you can do is you can change the way you play the game. Okay? Ang problema kasi sa atin, pikon tayo. Kunyari, when we have problems at work, tayo napipikon eh. Tayo naasar eh. Ay, naku, grabe naman tong boss na to. Sometimes, your colleague has the power to change the way you gain your day. Sira araw mo dahil may nasabi lang tungkol sa'yo. And I'm like, sorry lang ha, Neddy, para medyo, bakit kayo tanga, di ba? Don't be stupid. What's the power of your boss or your colleague to like change your mood just because of what they say? Right? Kasi pag uwi mo sa bahay, 5 years later, that boss, you probably won't be working with that boss anymore. Because that boss is an idiot and that boss will change. Instead, may nasabi sa'yo, medyo na-hurt ka, kebs lang. I don't care. Bakit? Kunyari, sabi niya, pangit ka. Pag talagang pangit ka, kahit sinabi niya sa'yo pangit ka, hindi ka naman gaganda. Alam mo yun? So sabi niya, for example, for me don't be too hurt with what people tell you because it's not true. If the person says, alam mo, tamad ka. Totoo ba? Kung totoo, 'di ma-hurt ka. Eh, kung hindi naman totoo, 'di ba sabihin mo sa kanya, "Eh, di ikaw pangit ka rin." Right? Because it's not true. It doesn't mean it's said, it's true. It doesn't mean people tell you things, it's true. So why would you be affected with something that's not true? Kasi once you start believing what people tell you, then it becomes true. Pumapangit ka kasi feeling mo pangit ka. Pero pag feeling mo ang ganda-ganda mo, who cares? Which is why so many pangits, 'di ba? We know a lot of people pangit pero ang daming taong nagkakagusto. Kasi uber confident naman, feeling niya siyang napakabandang babae sa buong mundo kahit na hindi naman totoo. Because they believe they are beautiful. Then they become beautiful. So what I'm saying is, don't be more accountable with your situation in life. Because if you feel that everybody's against you, then it becomes true that people are against you. But if you ignore your bashers, then who cares about them? Diba? And when you don't get affected with negativity, you also change the way you work. Because if you're not depressed or sad, anong gagawin mo? Sugod ka lang ng sugod, di ba? Sugod ka lang ng sugod. So you're like, gagawin ko yung trabaho ko at gagalingan ko. And then, bahala na silang mga bashers, di ba? And if your boss, if you really overachieve at your job, if you work more than what you are paid for, I think there will be a company who will hire you. So if your boss doesn't appreciate you or give you the pay that you need or the opportunity you need, somebody else will hire you because you can capably do the job that they need at a higher price range. Eh tayo kasi, anong ginagawa natin? Eh kasi negative si boss eh. Eh kasi yung colleague ko mga nakakaasar sa trabaho eh. We're always looking at downstairs. We're looking at the crabs. We don't focus on the world around us. The crabs are in the basket, di ba? And we're always worried about, ito ng mga crabs, kuha ng bas. Parang lagi akong dinadrag down. Ako naman, ang laki-laki ng mundo. Why are you focusing on the crabs? Right? Kasi beyond the basket, nobody cares about the freaking crabs. The crabs are inside the basket. Why are you focused on the people inside the basket? Why are you not focused on the world outside? And when you focus on the world outside, then your world becomes bigger. The way you do things become more strategic. And those who don't like you can go to hell. Diba? And those who like you will love you. And as you do that day and day, then your life becomes better. You become happier kasi nobody's bringing you down. Actually, the biggest problem is not the colleagues or the bosses or the company. The biggest problem is actually us because we believe what they're saying. And we think, sabi nila ganito lang ako, kaya ganito lang ako. That's why it's good to go to conferences, diba? And it's good to listen to these talks because you open your eyes and say na parang, di lang pala ako dito, diba? Hindi lang pala ako hanggang dito lang. Meron akong pupuntahan. Maiiwan ko kayo eventually, but parang the way I have to do it is I need to make myself so good that other people will want me. And here's the thing pa. When you get that offer, what do you say? Ito kasi mga ibang tao, ang gagaling na ng HR. Ano sabihin nila afterwards? Ay, hindi ko kaya. Bakit? Malayo. Diba? Parang, so what kung malayo? Lumipat ka. Right? Ay, kasi baka hindi ko magawa eh. Ano ka ba? Diba? Yung mga ganon, sarap sapakin eh. Kasi, parang, nandun na yung opportunity. Nandun na yung career progression. Ayaw mo pang kunin kasi number 1, number 2, hindi ka comfortable. Number 3, baka mag-fail ka. Number 4, parang hindi mo sure kasi parang paano naman yung company mo. And I'm like, if you really want to progress in your career, you should be ready for the next step in your life. Because if you're always looking back, you'll never go forward. And kaya nga, my talk, the future of Philippine HR, all the benefits of Philippine HR lies on the few. On the few. who sees the opportunity, bravely grabs it, and makes something out of it. Sa dami ninyo dito, how many of you will take advantage of that opportunity? Oo, kayo na oo. Pero the question is, pag dumating yung panahon na may opportunity, kukunin mo ba? Kasi kung hindi mo rin naman kunin, lahat ng oo mo, sa'yo na. Right? Wala ka rin gagawin dyan. Mag-oo ka lang eh, di ba? But if you are the type of person who will take advantage of every opportunity and actually upskill and reskill while you're waiting for that opportunity to open, then I have very high hopes for you. And I sincerely believe you will find your dream. You will have your dream accomplished because it's not about them, but it's all about you. 'Di ba? Ah, may isa pang question. Sige. Kasi parang ang dami nakakatulong dyan eh.
Ma'am Jurina, you raise your hand. Nakamute ka, ma'am. Wait. Hindi mo ma-unmute yung sarili mo. Wait.
Hello, good afternoon, Ma'am Tina.
Yes
I
po.
have a question.
Mm.
What have you and
Mm.
your HR team, what have you guys done to upskill yourself in the preparation of the future of Philippine HR? What steps have you taken as of date, and what suggestions would you give to those who are in micro, small, and medium-sized businesses to stay afloat?
Okay. Parang daming tanong, no? The first one, the first one is this. Actually, sa totoo lang, I've realized that not everybody can be helped. That's why I do a lot of these talks. Because if I talk to like 100 people or if I talk to 1,000 people, if one, if 10 people can listen to my message and actually make changes in their life and their life becomes better for it, I think it's already my time well made. For example, mga tao ko, I'm teaching them about financial independence. Huwag kayo mangutang, magbayad kayo ng utang, huwag kayo masyadong maggastos, huwag kayo bumili ng bago, huwag kayo mag-home credit, huwag kayo mag-SSS loan unless you're doing this or that. May nakinig ba? Kayo, makikinig ba kayo, 'di ba? In truth, not everybody will listen. Everybody will nod their head, yes, yes. But not everybody would listen. And I believe in the Pareto rule. Don't waste too much time on people that will not listen, but focus on on the 80 the people, the 20% who will listen. Because those who listen will make changes in their life and will have a more beautiful life. A company cannot all have very energized people. Sobrang hyper na talaga yan, right? Hindi pwedeng araw-araw parang, hi, ganon. Hi, we all love you. Cannot, because there's work to be done and you need introverts, you need people who are coming in. Yung nagka-quiet quit, you want people like that minsan, yung papasok lang ayaw ma-promote. You need people like that. You don't want to discourage these people. But you focus on the ones you think have potential, have leadership, and then be able to promote them. Do you understand? And then be able to focus them. But I find it really, really difficult kasi alam na ng tao kung anong tamang gawin, ayaw pa rin na lang gawin. So for example, I've had people na, ipopromote kita, basta wag ka lang mag-resign. Tapos later on magre-resign for personal reasons. Alam mo yun? So it's very, very frustrating, not just for me, but for everybody else. Kasi gustong-gusto mo ng tulungan, pero they still make decisions that are not very strategic. And that's really the beauty and the curse of the Filipinos is that parang we deal with a lot of these people all the time. And for me, it can be very discouraging kasi sa dami ng tinulungan ko, yung iba talaga sinasayang lang nila yung tulong na binibigay mo sa kanila. But what I do, as I've said, I don't give up and I don't feel depressed. Kasi okay lang. Sige, sayangin mo buhay mo. Sige, magkabit ka. Okay lang. Yung mga ganun. You can't change them. But what you can do is you can make changes slowly to the people who will listen. Small to medium enterprises don't always hire HRs and then leave everything to HRs. The managers, the owners themselves need to know about HR and how to discipline. Because if you leave everything to the HRs, 2 years later, you'll find that that HR manager stole money from you. Totoo yun. How many of you guys had your HR steal money? Lots, lots and lots. So really important that a small to medium enterprise know HR themselves so that you know how to find the right HR, and you know if the HR is really doing the great job. And once you find the great HR, work with that HR to build the company together. Next. Oh, Iris. Very good. Iris can do the work. Iris B can actually be a speaker at the HR Calabarzon. I'm just telling you, Neddy. Just
Hi
contact her.
guys. Okay, so we've worked na with Tina before. Like I was a guest speaker in HR
Right.
cafe before for like peak performance for employees. It's mental health consultancy. So yun, I wanted to address. Actually, I agree with what Tina said, but to touch upon that, what I noticed because I consult with MNCs, so mga multinationals talaga. The executives medyo matigas talaga ulo nila kasi they're
Right.
concerned with the profits. They're always pumping profits. But me as a CEO, and I've nag-exit na kasi ako, sabi ko I'd rather be a VC so I can see the landscape, because the problem is that most of your bosses are way too close to the profits, to the charts, to
Right.
like,
Hmm.
so it becomes this like mechanism, and yung stress noon, like yung maganda sa ginagawa ko is that my companies operate on their own. So autonomous sila. And we don't, like, for example, we have a very unique system as well. Like we're not attached to the employees to the sense na, if that's your growth, let's keep in touch. Kasi babalik din yan eh. Pag talagang na-nurture mo yung leads, yung mga clients, and also the suppliers, the HR, lalo na HR. And I told,
Hmm.
if you didn't attend the Tina nung nakaraan, I think you were in your
Right.
party, right? I spoke last time about that the companies must invest talaga in HR, because HR is the heart, that is the gateway between work and the leisure or the family life. So if HR, or like the entire employee, or I would say like 50 to 75% of the workforce are pumapasok sila, and you can tell, you don't even need to ask them. That's the beauty of it. Like you can just see in their faces. People who are excited with work, madalas sila natatapos na sila early because they want to spend time. Ang gravity nila nasa family lagi, nasa home life. So if the employees are not performing very well, you can tell with the energy, like, especially when you ask them nagpo-procrastinate, ganun. But it's not their problem. The problem that I found was the root is the limiting beliefs in the workforce. Like what
Hmm.
Tina mentioned earlier about, yung mga marites, yung mga executives, like the miscommunication or the misunderstanding and negative assumption between employees towards executives and executives towards employees. And if the managerial, yung nasa gitna, does not mitigate that, hindi sila marunong mag-bridge nung communication, they cannot see or parang justify the performance of each employee. Wala silang proper system to audit or track the KPIs of the employee. Of course, mafe-feel talaga ng employee that hindi siya nagpe-perform, pero hindi niya kasi kasalanan most of the time. So when an employee gets in a company, like half of those problems are already existing. They are already existing. So it's like the company, parang 50-50 din. So hindi lang dapat sa company, hindi lang sa employee, but they have to meet in the middle. Like, boss, if you can show your company, like, boss, meron tayo na I think we can upgrade our systems or yung parang methodology natin in the workplace so that our people are not burnt out. The more that you can show how valuable you are to the as an asset to the company, kahit hindi mo trabaho, they will look at you as like, wait, this person, ganon. But the problem is hindi nale-leverage yung promotion because some are, tulad ng sabi ni Tina, is like they're not confident enough to assert that position. But actually, if you do assert your positions dun sa mga companies na consultant ko, I always tell them, encourage them for promotions, encourage them to be confident, because great leaders, great CEOs always want the well-being of the people. Sinong leader na hindi, di ba? Kasi it doesn't make sense for the entire workforce to be exhausted to the point ng pinapag-overtime na sila and they're not happy anymore, because if they keep pushing, the results will suffer. So I learned this methodology also of lean startups sa Silicon Valley. So they if a company wants to scale ng bongga, they don't need to hire people. They just need to work very, very efficiently and systematically is what Tina said about yung headway talaga is automation and systems. So yun yung napansin ko, and especially mental health talaga. That is the what you call this foundation. Para pag clear yung head nila, focused sila, there's no negativity hovering around. There's less resistance in the thought process because the thought we get about 70,000 thoughts per day. Like yun yung nangyayari. So when we get stimuli of whether stress or positive, nagkakaroon siya ng window na, wait, should I do that action? Should I talk to my boss? And that window of 17 seconds from thought to comprehension is the make or break between millions and millions for your employees. So if you can help your company to see the way that you see, kasi most of the time yun nga sabi ni Tina, hindi sila believe sa sarili nila, sino lang naman ba ako, di ba? And that is why upskilling is very important. If you can show your boss that you do have the moxie, or yung parang the confidence that you know what you're talking about, you can show the data, you've done a research, let's say hindi naman inask sa'yo, that will set you apart from all the robots in the workplace. So and I can speak from experience because I was an employee as well. I was regularized 3 months before talagang actual regularization is 6 months, because I did the unthinkable. I thought like a CEO. I was like, kung ako yung boss ng company na to, what would they ask of me? So yun, nagkaroon ako ng 3 times the promotion even before I became a trade manager. So parang gusto ko lang i-touch up yung sa sinabi ni Tina, because you guys are amazing at what you do, and napakahirap talaga niyan, because I've seen, di ba Tina, yung companies, no? HR it's a very difficult job because para kayong parents ng company, lahat sa inyo yung complaints. So parang who takes care of the HRs if not, di ba? The company should definitely invest, hindi lang puro marketing, hindi lang puro sales or advertising department. It should also be HR. So yun.
I'd like to add to that lang with a question, is that how brave are you? Because if you're doing the right thing, you're very difficult to fire.
Exactly.
The problem with many HRs is that we think that the company has a hierarchy that keeps us in our position, which is our perception is the position's powerless. Because
Right.
there's so many other decision makers or VIPs in the organization that's been there even
For
before
like
our
years.
time. But
Exactly.
for me, if you're a newcomer coming into a company and you know you're doing the correct job, why would you worry about a person who is mayabang, who's been there for a while
Exactly.
and nagpa-power trip?
Yeah, because
Because
you came there to do the job, right? Talagang
they cannot fire you. They can't fire you. They can only make life difficult for you so that you will resign. I want to repeat that, ha. The only power other people has is they will make life uncomfortable for you so that you will resign, because they cannot fire you for just or authorized causes. They cannot force you to resign. That's a
chokehold talaga siya.
huge, what do you call
It's a
it?
problem.
That's a very huge advantage, because you're in a position that's very difficult to get rid of.
Yeah.
And the only way an HR manager leaves is when you decide to leave because you cannot stand the heat.
Yeah.
If you have that situation, shouldn't you do all that you can to improve the way the companies run? What I've
Exactly.
talked about before, because nobody in the company can move you out of the company even if they hate you. They'll complain about HR. They'll complain to you, to the boss. Sir, pinagalitan ako. I was sermon. Why? Kasi lagi daw akong late. Da? Diba? What? Diba? Sir, binigyan ako ng NT. Bakit? Low performance daw ako. Bakit? Nag-aabot ka ba ng quota? Hindi. Sir, binigyan ako ng ng incident report. Bakit? Lagi daw akong absence without leave. Bakit? Nag-abol ka ba? Oo. You know what I mean? It's very hard. Why? Ang problema sa atin, napipikon tayo. Right? We allow these people who misbehave, bully and pressure us so that we quit on our own. And for me, I want you guys to reconsider your life is that you're more powerful than you think. And if you have projects, if you want to make changes, if you want to change the way the company is being played at, you do have that power to do so. But, and I want to end this with this, many HRs, they don't play. They don't, parang, ay, kung ganun sila, bahala na sila. Why? Because if we're being very honest to ourselves, we're not brave. We don't want to get our hands dirty. We think it's too much trouble versus our pay grade. Mahirap makipag-away because it's better to be friends and magsiinuman tayo. It's very difficult to terminate a person when you can just regularize the person because for you, it's not, you just pay the payroll. Doesn't matter for you if this person annoys everybody else. That's why I go back to my topic, which is higher pay, better careers are to those who are brave enough to see opportunities that are existing. Everybody else want to take the easy way out. Easy way out is to let the company run itself. However it is, sinang malakas siyang matibay. Sinang malakas siya ang boss. Bahala na sila. The problem is, if you don't start with your company now and have the courage to make changes in your company now, if you move to another company, you'll still be at the same place where you are today with slightly higher salary because of inflation. You're not a game changer. You're a administrator. You're a processor. And that's fine. And that's perfectly fine because we need people like that. But if you do have that courage and that confidence to upskill yourself and to be brave and to go against that person who creates a lot of problems for the company and actually get rid of that person, bahala, you're doing the right thing eh. And actually, ito pa, high EQ also gain the support of everybody around you because marunong kang makipag-usap sa kanila. Then you're on your way up. Because a big problem of HR is this. We always insist what is right and what is wrong. We tell people, you have to follow the rules. Why? Because it's the rules, right? It's like a mother saying, you shouldn't do that. Why? Because I said so. I challenge everyone to be a better communicator. Explain why. Get their support. If they don't understand, talk to them even more. You know why? I think HRs need to be more likable. But sometimes when we do our jobs, we're very rude and we're very unlikable because we think we are always right and everybody should follow because it's the rule. Instead of doing it that way, change the way you talk. Don't don't tell people do this because you're going to be annoying and nobody will listen to you. Instead, change the way you communicate to a person so that person will want to follow you because that person wants your approval. Because they really respect you, they think you know what you're doing, and then they know that whatever you do is for their benefit and not for yours. How many of you do that? Because it's not cool to always be right, but lose everybody's support. If you want to be a very powerful HR, you have to get their support. You cannot win just by being right. You can win a company if you support. That's why I talk to everyone. How many of you have talked to your people beyond those who complain against you? I talk people sa guard. people sa, I talk to everyone, every day. Sabi nga ng nanay ko, bakit ang daldal ko, lahat kausap ko. Because I talk to them now, so later on when I have problems with them, it's easy to talk to them. Because if you only talk to them when they have problems, nobody wants to talk to you. But if you talk to your people today, every day, and they really like you, not because they agree with you all the time, but they like you as a person and they know you're very, yung parang tipong, the company is so lucky to have you. Alam mo yun? Parang, I know I don't like your policies, but I like you. Yung ganon. If you're the type of person who can be that, hawak mo na yung company mo. Mapapasunod mo lahat. And then yung taong pasaway, kaya mong, sabi mo, di ba politics yan? Hindi yan politics. High EQ ang tawag dyan. High EQ, di ba? Ang problem kasi sa atin, masyado tayong suplada, masyado tayong masungit. Alam mo yon yung pag kunyari bad day, people don't want to talk to us when we're having a bad day because we're so curt and disrespectful. I honestly think that if an HR acts more like an HR, like a real HR, and don't treat HR as a job, they'll get more things done. Diba? Right, Neddy?
Yes, ma'am. We have last question here. Medyo overtime na tayo.
Kaya nga,
Sorry?
it's okay.
Let's have Sir or Ma'am Shiranshu. Please.
Yes, go
unmute.
ahead. Sorry if I'm using a little bit of Tagalog. So it's for the more understanding of everybody else. Wala, okay lang?
Yes, ma'am. Hello,
If
ma'am.
not, so I hope it's very it's very easy for everyone to understand. And if you don't get it, I hope that you will watch the replay. Yeah. Okay?
Yes. Okay. In behalf of HR Calabarzon Group, present this certificate of appreciation to Ma'am Tina Khoe for sharing her invaluable knowledge and expertise as a resource speaker for the 67th HRE Knowledge entitled The Future of the Philippine HR Primer via Zoom and Facebook Live from 2:45 p.m. to 5 p.m. given this 10th day of September 2022, signed by yours truly, Neddy, and our co-founder, Ms. Jorina Caparad. Bago po tayo magtapos sa aking mga kasamang ka-HR dyan, maaari po bang maabuksan natin ang ating mga video for our mandatory picture taking? Yan.
Ay, buti nandiyan pa sila lahat, di ba?
Oh, ma'am.
Baka mamaya naglago ng 4:45. Para for attendance, di ba?
Yes, ma'am. We have 4 slides. Ma'am Jorina, can you please do the honor? Bakit hindi ka wait. Firstly.
Kami nating gender equality, no? Ayan, may mga tao wala sa office, pero nandito pa rin, no? Di ba?
Yes, ma'am. Nandito pa rin sila.
Oo nga para sa attendance, para may e-certificate.
Yes, Ma'am Jorina, please do the honor.
Okay, so please turn on your videos para makita ang mga magagandang mukha at napakagwapo. Smile!
Oo, ang dami nagagandahan ngayon, ma'am.
Nga may pusa pa, di ba? Kaya Maria Luna.
Okay, second. Third slide. Fourth slide. Okay, tapos na.
Ma'am Tina, thank you po ulit talaga. And
thank you.
I'm really happy we met personally. Yun nga lang, medyo malayo. Ang layo ng, natin, ma'am. Kita-kits natin from Philippines to Singapore. But I am very happy to have you in Singapore for the People Tech, HR Tech in Singapore. Sa mga ka-HR namin, nawa po sana this afternoon ay talagang marami tayo natutunan from Sir Ron Thomas for the future of global HR. And syempre, mula kay Ma'am Tina na talagang tagos, tinamaan ako sa pool. pero may previous employer po yung mga sinasabi ko, ha, hindi po ngayon, ha, nililinaw ko lang po. Baka mamaya ma-quote and quote ako. Nandito yung staff ko, nanonood. Ayan, mga ka-HR, muli magkita-kita po tayo next week. Pero bago yan, i-share ko po ang ating screen before that. Ayan, next week with Sir Marvin Soylo and Ma'am Rona Dale Florentino for another back-to-back learning HRE knowledge on September 17, 2022 from 1 o'clock p.m. Ano po ba ang topic natin next week? Kagaya ng sabi ni Ma'am Tina kanina, AI. The future of HR AI in the Asian landscape will be talked by truly yours, Mr. Marvin Soylo, isa sa speaker mentor ng HR Calabarzon at isa rin po sa Board of Director of the Philippine HR Group. We also have, after Sir Marvin, Ma'am Rona Dale, the owner of Uprash. She will be talking about the future of HR gamifying process. On Saturday po yan mga ka-HR, kaya magkita-kita po tayo para po makapag-register kayo. Please do screenshot the registration QR code for next week. Ma'am Jorina, meron ba tayong konting paalala para sa mga kukuha ng HR e-knowledge e-certificate?
Yes, of course, lagi tayong merong mga paalala para dyan. Una-una sa lahat, make sure po natin na accurate ang ating mga information. Take note po, kung ano po ang ilalagay nyo sa attendance link, yun din po ang makikita nyo sa e-certificate. Wala po kaming binabago.
Yes. At syempre po, inaasahan namin na ilalagay niyo po ang inyong first name, middle initial, and last name only. Of course, your email address must be typed accurately. And since yung mga iba nating mga ka-HR na nagbabayad ng every 50 pesos, please do pagsamahin niyo po sa isang picture or isang PDF yung dalawang reference or proof of payment para po maibigay namin sa inyo ng tama ang inyong e-certificate. Take note, ang pagtanggap po ng payment ay hanggang Wednesday next week up to 5 p.m. Ang link po na nakikita nyo po sa inyong harapan, ang QR code at ang link po ay open hanggang Thursday, 5 o'clock p.m. Dahil po, ino-audit na po ito ng ating mga naggagandahan at nagbabaitan at very, very accommodating volunteers na talaga namang nagbibigay ng oras nila after office work. Yan po, para po sa kalaman ng lahat, ginagawa po natin ito after office work. Dahil lahat po tayo, pare-pareho po tayong nagtatrabaho. Tama ba, Ma'am Jorina?
Yes, of course. And syempre, don't forget to follow Ma'am Tina's Facebook page, Tina in Manila. Ayan. So,
also, don't forget to follow HR Calabarzon YouTube. Please do subscribe dahil pinost na po natin ang lahat ng ating HR e-knowledge learning series para po sa unlimited learning from our speaker mentor from day 1 ba, Ma'am Jorina?
32 lang ang ating uploaded doon kasi na-corrupt yung ibang files.
Yun. Pero anyway po, mula po ngayon, lahat po ng ating HR e-knowledge will be posted in our YouTube. Meron pa rin naman po tayo, makikita po natin dito sa ating Facebook page. Please do also like HR Calabarzon, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
Yan. Okay, muling-muli sa lahat, maraming salamat mga ka-HR from the founder, Ma'am Neddy, from me, Jorina, and of course, our dedicated volunteers. Maraming salamat and see you next week. Bye-bye!
See you next week po mga ka-HR. Bye po. Ingat po. Happy weekend. Bye po. Thank you ulit kay Ma'am Tina at kay Sir Ron. Okay, we will not stop the sharing, but I'll stop the video recording.